Welcome to Living a Full Life podcast. Join us as we explore health topics that encourage raising healthy children, living a healthy life, and living the best life possible. Now, here's your host.
What if I told you that one health problem is connected to heart disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes, arthritis, autoimmune disease, chronic pain, obesity, depression, and even cancer? It's called chronic inflammation. The scary part is that most of us have no idea it's happening until years later. But today, we're going to teach you how to recognize it, what causes it, and the simple things you can start doing this week to lower inflammation naturally. Welcome back to Living a Full Life podcast. I'm Dr. Enrico Dolcecore, and each and every week we leave you tips to live healthier, happier lives through natural and effective means. And inflammation can be talked about on verbatim each and every week if we wanted to, because it's a vast array of chronic web of disease that stems from inflammation. And we need to understand what that means. There's a difference between inflammation. There's a difference between stresses, and there's a difference between balance. When we talk about these things generically and we throw blanket statements, it makes it difficult to comprehend the nitty-gritty of the topic that we're talking about. So when we say something like stress, well, gravity is a stress, and gravity is both good and negative. Over time, gravity puts a lot of stress on our joints. It pulls our skin down. It does a bunch of things that we don't like. However, on the positive side, it keeps our feet on the ground. And then there's stresses like physical stress, where physical stress can wear down the body, can wear down joints, it can wear down muscles, it can wear down tendons, it can wear down cartilage. But on the plus side, physical stress like activity and exercise can help strengthen muscle, strengthen tendons, strengthen bone. So everything that we talk about, like even inflammation, you're going to say, well, what's good inflammation? Well, there's a good response to inflammation, like acute inflammation, where we cut our finger or we sprain an ankle or we get sick from the flu or a cold or a virus. Once that happens, your body responds, your immune system responds with what's called acute inflammatory response, which helps kill the virus, kill the bacteria, heal the cut, heal the sprained ligament. And that's caused by white blood cell plasma and a response that the body sends out, the immune system sends out to the area to heal and attack. That's a good thing. That's what our immune system was built to do. It's to respond. Chronic inflammation, on the other hand, is what we're talking about today. This is different. Your immune system never completely shuts off with chronic inflammation. That causes long-term stress and fatigue. It's like leaving your car idling for 24 hours a day, never turning off that engine. Eventually, something is going to break. Symptoms of inflammation, people often think that they're just getting older because the symptoms start to compound or the symptoms start to worsen. However, they may notice fatigue, brain fog, joint pain, headaches, digestive issues, poor sleep, stubborn belly fat that won't go, slow recovery, low energy, depression, skin problems, and on and on and on. And these things may continue to get worse, or they just continue to build a list like I just did. And we call that aging. However, that's not aging. Those are clues and signs of chronic inflammation. And the 8 biggest causes of this is what the whole podcast is about. These 8 things. And we've got dozens of podcasts now on probably each and every one of these. But we're going to talk about these 8 that are the building blocks to a healthy immune system. And when we cripple any of these pillars, these building blocks, they start to weaken the immune system. And a weak immune system causes chronic inflammation because then the machine never really turns off. It's always in a constant and perpetual state of trying to repair and heal, which isn't good in the long term. Our body's always doing this, but it reserves it for parasympathetic nervous flow, which happens at night when we go to sleep. During the day, we should be in sympathetic flow of movement and alertness, where we shouldn't be also healing during that time. So when we turn it on to the sympathetic side and we're alert and functioning and trying to be cognitive and use our brains and work and do all the things we need to do during the day and exercise, when we're in the background running a bunch of other programs on the parasympathetic side at the same time to try and heal, we fatigue faster. It's just what happens. We're just running too many programs at the same time. Instead of running the daytime shift and the nighttime shift properly, we're running all the programs 24 hours a day. So the biggest causes, the building blocks of this is diet. A poor diet with ultra-processed foods, seed oils in excess, sugar, and alcohol. I'm going to repeat this. I'm trying to keep this podcast simple because we do deep dives in each and every one of these. Diet. We have one on sugar. We have one of processed foods. And I'm putting all the podcasts we talked about into this one thing of diet. A poor diet is ultra processed foods and sugar. Those are the two top things we consume in the American diet and then most diets around the world that lead to chronic inflammation. Ultra processed means something that has a shelf stable life. Nothing should survive on a shelf. It should go bad. What we've done to the food is let it live longer on the shelves by dehydrating it, putting in a bunch of salts and chemicals in there to give them shelf stable life. And we've taken each and every one of those ingredients and those chemicals and deemed them safe. But when you put 27 of them all into the one food product, not is it unsafe, but the chronic buildup of this consumption is what causes chronic inflammation. So ultra-processed foods are packaged foods. Packaged things that you couldn't really make on your own. You would need a food processing plant to do it. And then sugar, I would say, is number 2. Seed oils are only good in low quantity and when they're fresh. Unfortunately, when we use seeds and we take their oil from it, they don't have a long shelf life and they go rancid quite quickly. That's why vegetable oils, canola oils, sesame seed oil, all these things start to go rancid pretty quick, even though they're still considered stable. Once you consume these, your body looks at them as unhealthy fats, trans fats, and it breaks it down. And cooking them makes it even worse. And then alcohol. If you don't consume alcohol, you're saving yourself a big thing there. But alcohol is always inflammatory. Even 2 ounces, 4 ounces, 6 ounces, 22 ounces, whatever you drink, each time you do that, it is. There's no ways around it. So those are the biggest things around a poor diet. If we avoid those things, we just surround ourselves with good diet options, which is fantastic. Poor sleep is the second pillar. Less than 7 hours for most adults consistently causes inflammation because we just don't have a long enough sleep cycle for the healing process to take place and for the repair process to take place in the body. It just takes that much time. Even one bad night increases inflammatory markers from anywhere between 20 to 60% in just one bad night's sleep. For most of us that are relatively healthy, we might have a bump in about 20%, but for chronically ill people, chronically bad sleep will increase their inflammatory markers by 60%. Stress is the third pillar. Stress comes in all forms. We have many podcasts on stress: physical stress, emotional stress, chemical stress, mental stress. There's all facets of stress. But stress in general drives our cortisol. And cortisol is protective, but once it starts to spike, our cortisol becomes destructive. So high cortisol keeps us in the fight or flight or sympathetic nervous system side, pedal to the metal. And what typically happens during our daily cycle, our 24-hour circadian rhythm, is when we wake up is where we see the highest level. Right before we wake up is the highest level of cortisol. It just naturally starts to happen through the pituitary cascade, all the way down through our hormonal system. And it it's what wakes us up. And so we get up, we have the highest peak at that point. And then from that point, we should see a steady decline in cortisol as the day goes on. And by the evening, have the lowest point of cortisol. However, because of the way we structure our lives, stress seems to build up during the day. We have more and more work. We don't get it done. It's 4:00. We're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to do some of this tomorrow. And stress continues to peak. And then cortisol never gets that deep dive where it's supposed to. And that keeps us in fight or flight all day. And then we wonder why we have adrenal fatigue, chronic fatigue, and just feel tired all the time. Number 4, stagnation, sitting all day. Movement helps regulate inflammation. Movement moves things. I know that sounds silly to say. Your movement, the movement that you do, helps move things inside of you. So the only way your venous system can get blood back from your extremities in your legs, this means your veins, your arteries pump from the heart all through your body, all through your extremities, down your legs. The venous system, the veins, brings it back up, and it's on a valve system. In order for you to pump blood back to the heart properly, we need to move. We need to contract our legs, our gastroc, our calves, our hamstrings, and our quads. They pump the valves for the venous return back up, and then also lymphatic system as well. But just talking about blood flow, just that movement of walking is what gets that back up. Hence the 10,000 steps, the 5 kilometers per day, the 3 miles of walking per day that we need is to keep that regulatory system moving. That's just the circulatory system of blood. Now we can talk about the lymphatic system and how that also pushes it, and also your cerebral spinal fluid that flushes your brain constantly requires movement. So these jobs that have us seated all day, where we don't take breaks and we don't get those 10,000 steps per day or the 5 kilometers of movement per day, not only are we having blood flow issues, which slowly creeps up blood pressure, because that's how you adapt to moving blood more. If you have a clog in the pipe, you're going to increase the pressure of the water to push harder to get the water flow continuing through the pipes. That's what your heart does. Blood pressure starts to go up, starts to push it harder through there to get it through there. And people may not have plaquing. They may not have arteriosclerosis or cholesterol issues. This is the people with normal cholesterol, healthy arterial scans, but their blood pressure is creeping up. It's because of lack of movement. So that's from sitting all day. Exercise is one of the best anti-inflammatory medicines that you can do in your entire life. Number 5, body fat percentage. Excess body fat, especially visceral fat, the fat that builds up around our organs, kidneys, liver, spleen. This fat tissue actually produces inflammatory chemicals, C-reactive proteins. And this is what gets into the bloodstream and creates even more of a stress response. So exercise and body fat percentage kind of play hand in hand, but it all comes from the number one pillar, our diet. Working on that and cleaning up our diet immediately starts to burn visceral fat first. Everyone we help in our fat loss programs and our weight loss programs is visceral fat high people, and they see that number start to come down first. And as doctors, that's what we care about, is those healthy markers coming down. For them, they want to see the body fat, the subcutaneous fat go down so that they fit better in clothes and look better in the mirror. And that's important too. But we are talking about the visceral markers that are most important for the health markers out there. So when we take on patients and help them one-on-one with their weight loss journey, we're looking at blood work before and after every 6 to 8 weeks, and just watching the cholesterol continue to go down. The high cholesterols, the bad cholesterols go down. That's our number one thing. A1C starts to regulate, blood glucose starts to regulate. All good things happen after that, but that's what we're looking at. Number 6, we're on number smoking and vaping. It's just constant irritation, and it engulfs the entire circulatory system, the blood system, the respiratory system, and just continues to create stress response and chemical responses in the body. There's nothing good, zero, that comes from constant smoking and vaping out there. Gut health. Gut health is a pillar. It's a deep dive. We've got lots of episodes on gut health. Leaky gut, the poor microbiome diversity, and food sensitivities are just 3 ways of saying gut microbiome health. And that's really important to understand. Now, how do you get a good view of your gut health? It's really tough. There's really no medical tests out there that we get checked on at all. We just wait for symptoms. And symptoms usually get you endoscopies, colonoscopies, CT scans, MRIs, looking for ulcers, irritable bowel, diverticulosis, diverticulitis. They're looking for conditions. The best gut health test is a stool test to look at the microbiome and see what's actually happening with the viruses and bacteria, and what kind of a culture we're creating and an environment we're creating with the good and bads and the ratios. That is what gut health is all about. Then the last one is chronic pain and the poor nervous system regulation. This is where chiropractic becomes part of the conversation. And as a chiropractor, we talk about this a lot because we can help regulate the nervous system. Chronic pain keeps us in a negative feedback loop mentally and physically, and it creates negative hormone responses as well. When we're in pain, we just don't want to move. And when we don't want to move, we have that whole negative cascade there. When we're in pain, we have negative brain signals as well that keep us unhappy. It changes our mood, changes our behavior, changes our will. So we get caught in these negative feedback loops. Your nervous system is what controls healing. So the first part of healing in chronic pain is to start to get the nervous system to regulate. If your body stays in constant stress, response and recovery becomes harder. Those are the pillars. They're huge pillars to our overall health, not just inflammation. But let's talk about some solutions to this. So if you took anything from the 8, the last 3 made you think a little bit. The first 5 made sense. You probably followed along quite well with those. The diet, the exercise, the movement. You probably were okay with that. Let's go into that. Foods that fight inflammation. Over the last 20 years, I've heard about superfoods, all these super things, the next revolutionary thing. And where are we now? We don't even talk about them anymore because there is no one superfood. Remember kale? Man, we were eating kale like crazy. Then it was the avocado phase. Then it was the acai, or I don't know which order it went in, but the acai berries, the tannins, the tomatoes back in the early 200s, red grapes. Am I aging myself here? We're going through this stuff, and these things last a few years and then they disappear. They become a fad and they go away because there's not just one superfood. All of our foods are super, and we need to have an array of them to get what we need. Colorful vegetables. These are important. The colors come from minerals and vitamins. Eating the rainbow, they say, is a great way to encourage getting all your trace minerals and vitamins every day. Eating a little bit of different colors helps. Berries. Berries are packed with vitamins and antioxidants. Blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, acai berries, all the berries are just packed with it. You've got these large plants that are living and producing leaves and branches, and then they pack all that nutrients into these small berries. It's absolutely fantastic to consume. Wild salmon. Farm-raised fish cause other issues with parasites. The fat's not healthy as the other ones, and they're just not healthy tissue because they're trapped in a pool. So wild-caught salmon is probably one of the best balanced omega-3 foods you can eat with high density of protein. It is absolutely fantastic. Gives you a great source of fat and protein. One of the most perfect foods you can eat for those two things: fat, omega-3s, and omega-6s, and your protein source. It's a great source of protein. Olive oil. Instead of seed oils, we're going to use olive oil. Avocado oil is good too, and avocados themselves are great as well. They're considered a fruit, but they're just packed with great fat. Avocados are great. If you ever calculated or kept track of your food when you eat, and you put in a half an avocado, you're like, what happened to my calories? Why are my calories so high? Because it's packed with so much nutrients. It's mainly fat, but fantastic to even have on the daily, or at least 3 days a week, is to have some avocado, or even cook with avocado oil. Nuts and seeds are not horrible. They're packed with great oils that are really healthy and omega-3 and jammed with omega-3. So nuts are good in small quantity and eating them raw. So raw almonds, raw cashews, these are great. Honey covered and processed and roasted is unnecessary. I know they taste good, but raw tastes great as well. Nuts are great in small quantity. All beans are fantastic. Black beans, kidney beans, lentils, all these things are packed with fiber and trace minerals. They're great. These all fight inflammation, by the way. This list that I'm giving you, the berries, the salmon, the avocado oil, the avocados, the olive oil, the beans, the turmeric, ginger, green tea, dark chocolate, as dark as you can eat, 80-90% dark chocolate in moderation, about an ounce, are fantastic. anti-inflammatory properties, anti-cancer properties. Well, anything that's anti-inflammatory is anti-cancer. Foods aren't magic, though. There is no superfoods. That's why I preemptively started that conversation with the superfood thing. There is no superfood. Foods in general are super. That's what's great. Eating healthy foods in general are fantastic. Foods aren't magic. In particular, patterns matter. How we eat rather than what we eat is more important. So think about how we eat. Lifestyle habits that reduce inflammation. These are some tips, and this is a podcast I would share. Once you're done, hit the share button, tag some people, send it out in his email, share it to your social media. That's the best way. Your friends will see it and be like, what are you listening to? This is a great one. Helps teach young people inflammation, and it helps people that are chronically inflamed to rethink just for a second. Lifestyle habits that reduce inflammation. Daily walking. The 10,000 step thing, it all started with the Fitbit and these wearable devices. Before, it was always recommended to walk 5 kilometers a day. I'm from Canada, so we use the metric system. But in the US, it's 3 miles. 3 miles a day. You walk 3.2 miles a day. That is about 10,000 steps. It's been said for decades that we want to get out there and walk. What do they say? 20 minutes a day, at least. Daily walking, resistance training. Resistance, pulling and pushing something heavy. It's really important for your bone health and the cascade that happens once we push and we stress muscle tissue. It creates a hormonal response in the body. The brain activates and creates a hormonal cascade that helps lower cortisol, which lowers inflammation, and it has a whole chain reaction from the heart, blood pressure, blood flow, oxidative stress, all the things that happen with it, VO2 max. We can talk about these all day. We have podcasts on each of those things as well. Protein intake. Really important to have 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Yes, if you weigh 185 pounds, you need 185 grams of protein just to maintain muscle mass. Just to maintain muscle mass. Change that immediately. So many people I talk to, they're like, I didn't know this, but I was eating 16 grams of protein a day. Folks, this is daily conversations in my life as being a primary care physician in chiropractic. I mean, you talk to a lot of people every day, and I'm like, 60? They're like, 16, 1-6. I'm amazed on a weekly basis after 20 years of doing this, the conversations I still have with people. And of course, you're the doctor and you just have to listen. Kind of like someone on the other political side of the spectrum starts talking and you're like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm listening. And you got to do it. You got to listen and you got to be respectful. And you're like, listen, we really need to get that up to, and of course they're 286 pounds. So I'm like, you really have to eat closer to 200 grams of protein on this than 16. You know that, right? And it gets into a conversation. So protein intake, sleep consistency. We talked about it. Minimum 7 hours per day. Stress management, whatever that means. Oh my gosh, stress management. Still trying to find a good podcast to put together to help people with stress management. Life's hard. Life's fast paced. It's faster now than ever before. You got to figure out how to slow it down just a little bit. Hydration. We need to be drinking, for most people, 100 ounces for adults, 100 ounces of water per day as a base minimum. 100 ounces of water. The good rule, and I've taught my kids this, is as the day goes on, your urine should just become lighter and lighter and lighter. The goal is to have as clear urine as possible. It'll never be perfectly clear, but as clear as possible. If you're still getting that bright yellow at dinner time, you're dehydrated. That's a great rule. Just looking at when you go to the bathroom, how yellow is it? First thing in the morning, really yellow. Before bedtime, pretty clear. That means you drank enough water through the day. Sunlight. We miss this. No matter where you live in the world, we miss this. We forget to wake up and just get some sunlight. Getting this each and every day is really important for that hormonal regulation. Breathing exercises. This can help with stress management as well. But again, it helps with circulation, oxygen and CO2 circulation as well. And last but not least, social connection. Having that social interaction and not feeling lonely. We even have podcasts on that. You can just go to our podcast search bar on Spotify or YouTube or whatever you listen to, Apple Podcasts, and in the search bar, you put in social connection or blue zones or diet or inflammation, and all of our podcasts will come up on the keyword that you search for, and you can listen to them. We should have like 3, 4, 5, 6 podcasts on each of those topics alone. When should you get checked for inflammation? How do you know it's time? Man, I need to get checked. This is serious. Persistent pain that doesn't go away, you need to get checked. You need to see why those joints hurt or why those muscles continuously hurt. Most people naturally seek care because of pain. They're like, I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired. I got to do something about this. So they do. They'll either see a chiropractor, their medical doctor, or physician, someone to help them with pain, whether it's joint, muscle, whatever it is. So getting care is really important on that. Brain fog, just that constant foggy feeling, time to get checked. At least blood work, time to get the blood work checked to see what's happening there. Digestive problems. All of a sudden we have an irregularity in digestion. Chronic pain, chronic bloating, diarrhea, constipation, anything that changes the natural pattern that you normally have, and it's consistently changed, persistent change, time to get checked. Irregular weight gain, just all of a sudden the weight's gaining, your diet hasn't changed much, your activity hasn't changed much, and now your weight's fluctuating, it's changing, it's gaining weight. Now we have a hormonal issue going on. Reoccurring headaches. What's the normal amount of headaches? 0. How often should you get them? Never. It's a true answer to this. So reoccurring headaches that happen weekly, daily, that's not normal. We have to get that checked. And it could be structural, it could be physical, it could be hormonal, it could be chemical. Autoimmune symptoms, rashes, joint pain in odd joints, dryness, skin changes, any eye vision changes. This can be autoimmune. Blood work is the start with that, with your primary care, and then maybe a referral to rheumatology or endocrinology. Poor recovery. You just don't, all of a sudden, you just don't recover. Quit blaming age. Something changes, you just can't recover. You used to walk a lot or walk, 4 or 5 days a week. And now you're still just walking 3, 4 days a week, but now you just don't recover. Things just hurt. You feel tired. The recovery's low. We need to get checked. Inflammation isn't diagnosed by any one of those symptoms. Sometimes labs, imaging, or clinical evaluation are appropriate depending on your particular situation. So seeking care is really important. In chiropractic, our job isn't just helping neck pain. It's helping our nervous systems communicate better. It's the fundamental premise of what we do as chiropractors, is clearing the nervous system so that the body can function as optimally as possible. And that's why the results usually follow for many people, is they feel better, they move better, their inflammation markers go down, they sleep better. We break the negative feedback loops and create positive feedback loops because the nervous system can regulate better. Movement matters. Healthy joints matter. Recovery matters. Exercise matters. The healthier your nervous system functions, the better your body can adapt to stress. Chiropractic does all of that all in a few minutes. It moves joints. It removes interference in the nervous system. It optimizes flow and function, and you walk out better than when you walked in. It's every single time because you're moving particular areas of the body, the spine and its joints, in a way that exercise may not be able to because of posture, tightness, fatigue, flexibility. So when you get adjusted, you're moving things that you can't move on your own. You can stretch your shoulder, you can move your knee, you can stretch your hamstrings and help take pressure off your knee joint or your hip joint. But when it gets to specific areas of your back and the way the nervous system flows through there, specific movement pushes you forward a lot faster. That's the powerful punch of what chiropractic can do really quickly for your nervous system. So having a chiropractor in your, I was going to say Rolodex, man, I'm getting old, but in your phone, along with your optometrist and your dentist and your medical provider, is a great rotation for overall well-being. So ask yourself at the end of this podcast right now, am I sleeping enough? Am I getting 7+ hours a night? Am I moving daily? Am I getting that 3 miles of movement per day? Am I eating mostly real food? Go look at your pantry. Go look at your fridge. Are you always opening up containers and boxes and cartons and pouring things out and opening up bags? Or are you just grabbing vegetables, fruits, and meats? What are you doing? Am I eating real food? Am I managing my stress? I fail on that one too. And am I recovering? Am I truly recovering? Do I get energy back once I focus on recovery? Do I feel better? Do I have more alertness? Small changes, repeated consistently, create healthier bodies. If this episode helped you understand your body a little better, share it with someone who's always saying, I'm just getting older. That's who needs to hear this one. They may actually be dealing with chronic inflammation, and you may be able to help them. If you're in the Tampa area, I'd love to evaluate your nervous system if you're listening to this, or get your friends checked. If you're not, email us at info@fulllifetampa.com. We'll find you a nervous system doctor that assesses and regulates nervous system for you in your town, wherever you're at. It's pretty simple. And if you enjoy living a full life, subscribe, leave us a review. It gets us bumped up in Spotify and Apple so that people can find us. We're actually one of the top natural health podcasts ranking on Spotify and on Buzzsprout, just because of the search history. People are listening to us, which is kind of cool for random topics. So we're moving up there after 4 years. This stuff accumulates and consistency wins, right? So the consistency, being consistent, is what's made this a success. And thanks to you, it's been a success. Have a great and healthy week. Stay well, stay healthy, and catch you next week.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Living a Full Life podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.